Funnily enough though, the book does talk about someone in the attic scene that I think is worth mentioning. Not the Hatbox Ghost, we'll get to him later, but someone else in the attic scene, someone you may know as Constance Hatchaway. Well, I guess everyone would know her as Constance Hatchaway, that's kind of her name. Anyway, that's right everybody, today I stand before you and ask you to consider the following. The real owner of the Haunted Mansion is in fact Constance Hatchaway. Now of course I can't go around making crazy claims like this, I have to back it up with some sort of fact. I have to tell you why I think Constance is the owner of the Haunted Mansion, and I definitely will tell you that. I'll tell you that next week. Oh, well, would you look at that? It's next week already. Well, I guess I need to tell you now.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
A video 1-ish weeks in the making. Everybody, we're back with Who Owns the Haunted Mansion Part 2. The Offhand Disney video everybody and their mother has been waiting for. Now before we get right into the ghosts and the spooks and the scary part of this video, let me just say if you guys have not seen Part 1 of the true owner of the Haunted Mansion, make sure to follow the first link down in the description below because this is actually Part 2 of a 2-part series of Who Owns the Haunted Mansion. So now with all that confusion out of the way, let's hop right into the deep lore of the Haunted Mansion. Last week I discussed some possible owners of the Haunted Mansion building, and I left off on one specific owner that you may not have thought about before. This character has a long and colorful history with the Haunted Mansion, not just the building and the story of the Haunted Mansion, but also with the attraction itself. And no, I'm not talking about a certain pirate man. Today we're going to be talking about someone who had to scratch, claw, and perhaps decapitate their way to the top, and by the end of their life became one of the 999 happy haunts that resided in the mansion. So today everybody, we're going to be talking about Constance Hatchaway and her connection to the true origin of the Haunted Mansion. Now, allow me to set the scene for you guys. The year is 1869 in California. Secret County, California, to be a little bit more precise. A young and I'm assuming orphaned and penniless Constance Hatchaway wanders the streets of Secret County hoping to make a better life for herself someday. Now, Constance may be penniless, but she is beautiful. And just because she's beautiful doesn't mean she doesn't know how to rough some people up sometimes, if you get what I'm saying. After a young, wealthy farmer named Ambrose Harper saw Constance wandering around town, he took her in and started taking care of her. And of course, before the year was even over, the two were married, though Constance decided that after that, she wasn't quite cut out for farm life. Now, Constance knew what she had to do in order to get herself a better life, even if that meant killing her own husband. And we all know what happened to Ambrose Harper. Constance moved across the United States and through 3 more husbands before she finally came to the one that would change her life forever. And his name was George Hightower. Now some of you out there may recognize the name George Hightower, and don't worry, I recognize it too. And don't you worry, we're gonna talk about it. Now before we talk about the Hightower family specifically, let's talk about George himself. George Hightower was an extremely wealthy man originating from an extremely wealthy family. At some point in between the years 1875 and 1877, he met a woman named Constance Hatchaway, who he would become engaged to and marry in 1877. At some point after their marriage, George was unfortunately murdered by his wife for his inheritance, either through beheading, a hatchet blow to the head, or a combination of the two. Now we all know George Hightower appears in the attic scene of the Haunted Mansion where his head disappears from his shoulders in his wedding portrait. But George also appears in another portrait in the Haunted Mansion, this one at the very beginning in the stretching room. That's right everybody, we're gonna do this theory today. In the stretching room, one of the portraits portrays an old woman sitting on top of a tombstone that says, "Rest in peace, dear beloved George." Now, if we look at George on the tombstone, we can see that not only does he have an axe in his head, but he also has that sweet, super large mustache that George Hightower has in his wedding portrait. Now, obviously, George and Constance wouldn't stay in California their whole lives, even if they are from California, because George Hightower is so rich. Why not the two of them retire to a very fancy antebellum-style mansion in New Orleans? And of course everybody, what 19th century house isn't complete without a portrait of its owners? Or its sole surviving last owner. What I'm saying, everybody, if you weren't following the story, is Constance married George Hightower, a very wealthy man who built an antebellum-style mansion in New Orleans, Louisiana, and the two moved there in their old age. After the mansion was finally completed, Constance did the deed and decapitated poor beloved George, and became the sole owner of the Hightower Mansion. Hightower Mansion. HM. Everything seems to be falling into place. Now, because Constance and George didn't have any children or any close friends, when Constance passes away, the mansion falls to nobody. The mansion is simply let to rot there, becoming old and decrepit, becoming the perfect place for a retirement home of sorts for different spooks and ghosts from all over the world. And that, dear viewer, is where we, the park guests, come in. We are invited into the mansion by the old groundskeeper, the ghost host. And because of Constance's terrible crimes committed during her life, she is forever cursed to inhabit her wedding dress, which sits forever in the attic of Hightower Mansion. Over the years, the plaque sitting outside of the Hightower Mansion became rusty and old, and the house itself became sort of an urban legend amongst locals. Taking inspiration from the H and the M engraved on the plaque sitting outside of the Hightower Mansion, the locals began to call the house the Haunted Mansion. Now, of course, this is just a theory, and there are holes with every theory. Of course, the ghost host refers to all the portraits as pictures of some of their guests as they appeared in their corruptible mortal state, not some of their house owners. But everybody, there you have it. Through process of elimination, Constance Hatchaway is and was the last owner of the Haunted Mansion. Now, for those of you who were extremely confused earlier in the video when I said Hightower was a very memorable name in the Disney parks, don't worry. Now, if you've been to Tokyo Disney Sea, you probably already know what I'm going to be talking about. For those of you who haven't, let me introduce you to the Tower of Terror. Now, unlike our version of the Hollywood Tower Hotel here in America at Hollywood Studios, the Tower of Terror at Tokyo Disney Sea isn't themed after the Twilight Zone, nor is it themed after Guardians of the Galaxy, just in case you were wondering. No, instead, this version of the Tower of Terror features its very own original storyline that takes place at the Hotel Hightower. Wait a second. Now, I don't know about you, but that name sounds a little familiar. Now, this quote is from a 2006 press release regarding the opening of the attraction and the storyline that guests would be experiencing inside. Anyone who visits the American waterfront will soon find their gaze irresistibly drawn to the unique form of the lofty Hotel Hightower. The building's unusual design and extraordinary proportions were symbols of wealth and the power of its mysterious creator, antiquities collector Harrison Hightower III, and indeed the stories of the man and the hotel are very much linked. After inheriting his father's mansion, Harrison Hightower III decided to renovate his home, adding gardens, a pool, and a spa, the 5-story Caliph's Tower, the 8-story Indian Tower, and a ballroom. And finally, to top it all off, the 14-story Great Tower, in which Hightower kept his personal apartments in the penthouse suite. In 1899, Hightower embarked on the most hazardous expedition of his life, heading up the Congo River and into the dangerous parts of uncharted Africa. One day, Hightower's severely reduced party was chased into the area of the dreaded Mundutu tribe. Though greatly feared by neighboring tribes, the Mundutu welcomed Harrison Hightower's ill-fated expedition quite cordially and actually invited the adventurers to eat with them. During the meal, Harrison learned of the existence of the tribe's protective idol. The statue is called the Shiriki Unduntu, and Hightower wanted it for his own. He tried to persuade the village headmen to sell him the idol, but was refused, which only served to increase his desire. He then told his men to prepare for battle, and grabbing the Shiriki Unduntu from its altar, stole the idol and escaped the village. Now, for those of you who already know the story of the Tower of Terror in Tokyo, I'm gonna make this a little bit shorter. Basically, he stole the idol, takes it back to New York, and puts it in the Hotel Hightower. The Hotel Hightower then starts acting a little weird, the idol comes to life, curses the whole hotel, kills Harrison Hightower, and the hotel becomes haunted. So I guess the Hightower family has sort of a running history of hauntings. Everybody, Harrison Hightower in the Tokyo version of the Tower of Terror is indeed related and is probably the younger brother of George Hightower from the Haunted Mansion in Orlando and Anaheim. Harrison Hightower also makes a cameo appearance in the queue area of Hong Kong Disneyland's Mystic Manor, appearing in a group portrait with Henry Mystic and the rest of the Society of Explorers and Adventurers. This photo is dated to 1899 before his disappearance. This photo leads me to the granddaddy of all Disney theories. This theory revolves revolves around Disney's very first secret society, the Society of Explorers and Adventurers, that spans all the parks across all the continents. But that, my friends, is a different video for a different day. So let me know down in those comments below, what did you think of this theory? Do you think it holds any ground? Do you think it's true? Do you think it's false? Let me know what you think and your own different Haunted Mansion theories. Who actually owns the Haunted Mansion down in the comments below. Just remember, your plan for retirement is good, but it's probably not as good as moving down to an antebellum mansion in Louisiana and taking care of those who actually need it. They have all retired
here to the Haunted Mansion. Actually, we have 999 happy haunts here, but there's room for 1,000. Any volunteers?
Hello everybody, thank you so much for watching my newest Haunted Mansion theory video. I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you all liked watching it. Please be sure to follow me on Twitter if you would like more updates regarding the channel or just things that are on my mind. Also, feel free to donate on Patreon. The Patreon perks are back, and you do get early access to episode audio before the video goes live on YouTube, so that's something that is worth looking into. Also, Offhand Disney merchandise is still available for those of you who are interested. Just follow the link in the description down below. As always, everybody, thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please hit that like button, and if you want some more videos like this, hit that subscribe button. Please be sure to ring that bell icon. It really helps me out a whole bunch. Thank you all so much for watching. I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye.